morning, fourth grade. Today we are going to start learning about prepositions. So I'm going to read through your lesson today, and then we're going to do some practicing working with prepositions up on the whiteboard. So to start off with, let's go ahead and start reading today's lesson, Recognizing Prepositions. The sixth part of speech you will learn is a preposition. The job of a preposition is to connect words and show how they relate. A preposition is a word that shows the relationship between a noun or pronoun after its object and some other word in the sentence. So we've got here a picture of a birdhouse and Polly. And we're going to see how the words in dark print below show the different relationship between the sleeping Polly and her birdhouse. So these dark print words are prepositions. So we could have Polly sleeps in her birdhouse. So that shows where she sleeps. Polly sleeps near her birdhouse. Polly sleeps beside her birdhouse. Polly sleeps on her birdhouse. Polly sleeps by her birdhouse. Polly sleeps behind her birdhouse. Polly sleeps underneath her birdhouse. The prepositions in dark print show the particular relationship between Polly's sleeping and her birdhouse. The words in italics, sleeps, and then birdhouse, birdhouse, birdhouse. The words in italics are the words which the prepositions connect. The noun after the preposition is called the object of the preposition. So today I brought with me, I have the blue basket, and then I've got one of our little Jenga pieces. And just like we did with Polly and the birdhouse, I can show you a different relationship that the blue basket and the Jenga piece have. So right now, the Jenga piece is in the basket. In would be a preposition that would connect the blue basket and the Jenga piece. Then we could do that the Jenga piece is near the blue basket. Once again, near is showing the relationship between the Jenga piece and the blue basket. We could say that the Jenga piece is beside, it'd be at the same point as near, but that also shows that relationship. We could say that the Jenga piece is on the blue basket. Instead of inside, we could say on the blue basket. We could say that the Jenga piece is by the blue basket. Again, by is similar to beside, and near here, they're very similar in relationship showing. We could say that it's behind the blue basket, depending upon where behind would be. We could say that it's underneath the blue basket. We could do it underneath that way, or even underneath this way. So these prepositions show the relationship between different words in the sentence. So now let's turn the page and keep reading. It says, learn this list of common prepositions. So we've got aboard, about, above, across, after, against, along, among, around, at, before, behind, below, beneath, beside, between, beyond, by, down, during, except, for, from, in, inside, into, like, near, of, off, on, over, past, since, through, throughout, to, toward, under, underneath, until, up, upon, with, within, without. Now this is a very long list of common prepositions, and it's something that you will need to work on memorizing, or at least make sure that you can recognize each of those prepositions. So the first part that your paper wants you to do today is fill in the blanks with an appropriate preposition. You may refer to the list of prepositions from up here above. So we went blank Joseph's house on Greeley Street. Now, with these sentences, a lot of different words could fit in and make the sentence make sense. So you have to pick the one that you think makes the most sense. Because I could say we went along Joseph's house on Greeley Street. We went beside Joseph's house on Greeley Street. We went by Joseph's house on Greeley Street. We went inside Joseph's house on Greeley Street. We went into his house. We went near Joseph's house. We could use a lot of different prepositions to fill in the sentence. And that's why it's important when we're writing that we use the correct word to actually show what we truly mean. Or the wars, blank, the English and the French were long and bloody. Now this one is one that only has a few that actually could work. And probably your best one that could actually work is between the English and the French. So some of the prepositions can be used in many different sentences, or many sentences could have different prepositions that fit in them, and other sentences need specific ones. So it's very important that you read through the list and think carefully about it. We have to be home blank 6 o'clock. So I could go through aboard 6 o'clock, about 6 o'clock, That one could work. Above 6 o'clock, across 6 o'clock, after 6 o'clock, that could work. Against 6 o'clock, along 6 o'clock, among 6 o'clock. We could keep going. It wants you to pick the best one that's going to fit for what you're going with. So as you go through each of these sentences, make sure that you read carefully to find the best preposition to fit the context or meaning of the sentence. Then there's one other section that you're doing today, and we're going to practice some of this up on the board, but I wanted to read through this part up here above to help you recognize prepositional phrases. A preposition never appears in a sentence by itself. It is always part of a prepositional phrase. A prepositional phrase is a group of words that begins with a preposition, so a word from this list over here begins with a preposition and ends with either a noun or a pronoun. And that's very important that you keep those two things in mind. It has to start with a preposition and then end with a noun or pronoun. So we've got the sentence, I swam across the river. I swam is your subject verb. Across the river is the prepositional phrase, so they put it in parentheses. Across is the word that starts it, that's a preposition. River is a noun that ends this prepositional phrase. The word the is an adjective describing river. The object of a preposition is the noun or pronoun that completes a prepositional phrase. So we have another sentence here. Amy is visiting with her grandmother. Amy is our subject of this sentence. Is visiting is the verb of this sentence. Then we've got this prepositional phrase with her grandmother. It starts with the preposition with. Grandmother is the noun or the object of the preposition that ends this prepositional phrase, and her is an adjective describing grandmother. One more big thing to note before we go practice the stuff down below here. There are often one or more adjectives between the preposition and its object. So we've got Mom went to the grocery store. Mom is our subject. Went is our verb. And then we've got this prepositional phrase, to the grocery store. To is the preposition that starts this phrase. Store is the noun that ends the phrase. And here we have two adjectives that are describing the noun store. The store, grocery store. So as we go through this next exercise coming up, boxing the preposition and circling the object of each of the following prepositional phrases, we have to remember that a preposition starts the phrase. So we can't box anything other than the preposition that starts the phrase. And we're supposed to circle the object of each of the following prepositional phrases. And we have to remember that the object is the word that comes at the very end of the prepositional phrase to end it. We don't want to circle something too soon that might be an adjective. So let's go ahead and practice this section for Think A and Think B down below it. All right, fourth grade, now that we've read through your paper and looked at what prepositions are, let's go ahead and try finding some, first of all, in some phrases that you have on your paper. This is Think A. And then in some sentences that you have on your paper, and this is Think B. Remember, a prepositional phrase has to start with a preposition and end with a noun or pronoun that's the object of that preposition. And when I say object of the preposition, what I mean is it's showing the relationship between words earlier in the sentence and that object, that noun or pronoun that comes at the end of it. That's what the preposition's job is to do, is to show that relationship. Just like before, I was showing you the blue basket and the Jenga piece and the relationship between them, or we looked at the relationship between Polly sleeping and her birdhouse. That's what prepositions do, is they show or help explain the relationship between two different things. So I've got some phrases here. These are not full sentences, they're phrases, because they want you to get the idea of finding the prepositions. One big thing with a prepositional phrase is that when you read the phrase together, it needs to make sense. So when we go to box and circle, we need to make sure that we are doing it carefully so that way we're not confusing or messing up something that's going on in the sentence. So we've got beneath the dark blue ocean. The first thing it wants you to do is put a box around the preposition. So I want you to think back through that list of prepositions, look back at that list if you need to, and find which one of these words, beneath the dark blue ocean, is on that list for prepositions. So go ahead and do that right now. Find the preposition for this sentence. That's right, it's the word beneath. So I'm going to put a box around this word beneath. So I've boxed the word beneath. Now what the paper wants you to do is to go ahead and circle the object of that prepositional phrase. So we've got beneath the dark blue ocean is our whole phrase. What is the noun or pronoun? That's the object that ends this prepositional phrase. That's right, it's the word ocean. So we're going to go ahead and circle this word ocean. The, dark, and blue are all adjectives describing ocean. Beneath is the preposition that would be connecting the word ocean, the object of the preposition, to something earlier in the sentence. Maybe it would be they swam beneath the dark blue ocean. That's showing the relationship between their swimming and the ocean. It's saying that they're swimming beneath the ocean instead of on the ocean or in the ocean. It's showing that relationship. So let's look at the second sentence. For yellow flower. This is another phrase here. Where's the preposition? What should we box in this sentence? That's right, we're going to box the word for on our list. Remember, we're only boxing prepositions, so they have to be on that list that we looked on the page before. And what is the noun or pronoun that ends this prepositional phrase for yellow flower? That's right, flower. So I'm going to circle flower. This is the noun or pronoun that signals that this is the end of the phrase. All right, phrase 3, by John Smith. What is the preposition that we want to put a box around? That's right, the word by. And what are we going to circle here as the object of the preposition by? That's right, we're going to circle John Smith, this whole thing. John Smith. All right, we've got one more phrase to go. Until February. What is the preposition that we want to put a box around here? That's right, the word until. And what are we going to circle? That's right, February. Are you noticing a pattern that's forming here? The preposition starts the phrase, the object ends the phrase. Preposition starts, object ends. All of these objects are nouns in this case. Sometimes the object is a pronoun, usually or quite often it's a noun. All of these are nouns that are ending it. Preposition starts it, and the object of the preposition ends it. That's something that's very important that you got to get in your heads. Keep thinking over and over and over again. Now let's look at what this looks like within an actual sentence. So we've got the sentence here, ye are the light of the world. And we've underlined for you the preposition here to help you find it. So your job is to find the end of this prepositional phrase. Where does the prepositional phrase end? And so your book wants you to underline the rest of the prepositional phrase. So what's the rest of this prepositional phrase? It starts with of, and what's the rest of the prepositional phrase? That's right, the world. Now we want to be careful here. Over in this section, they had you boxing the preposition and circling the object of the preposition. Here, it wants you to underline the rest of the prepositional phrase. And so it's something that's very important to keep in mind, the difference between what you're doing over here and what you are doing over here. This is think A on your paper, and then this is think B. Now, if we were to circle the object of the preposition for this phrase of the world, what would we circle? That's right, we would circle the word world. That's not what your book is asking you to do, but keep that in mind that we want to be able to find where this prepositional phrase ends. All right, we got one more example up here for you to try, and then you get to do the rest from your page on your own. Scones taste good with milk. With is the preposition that starts the phrase, and what's the rest of the phrase that we want to underline here? That's right, just one extra word. We got the word milk. Remember, this preposition that they underlined for you is where it starts. So I don't want to underline any other words before that because of or with are my starting points for my prepositional phrase. We want to underline the words that come after it. However, be careful because you don't want to underline too far. You might accidentally underline words that aren't part of that prepositional phrase. Because we could say, scones taste good with milk and put something else in here. With milk would be the prepositional phrase. And then if we were to add the words and say, we'll say scones taste good with milk and We could do cookies, or we could do, I don't know, honey or whatever. We want to be careful to find just the prepositional phrase that we're going for. So as you go through the page today, be very, very careful. Hopefully this will help you with the introduction to prepositional phrases. You'll be working on them for the next couple days. They're a lot of fun. They can be a bit tricky at first, but once you figure out the phrases and you're able to find those phrases, it can make them a lot of fun as you're working through them on your paper. So have fun working on the rest of your paper today.